U.S. Supreme Court ruling has some concern here in Kentucky about the future of opioid abatement funds. Last week, the Supreme Court rejected a nationwide settlement with OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma.
It would have shielded the owners of the company from future lawsuits, but it also would have provided billions of dollars to combat the opioid epidemic. WKYT's Grayson Passmore talked to the owners of a Lexington restaurant who help people in recovery, who say that grant money from settlements like this one can help families across the Commonwealth. It's our top story at 11.
I am worried about future grants for people, for sure.
The multi-billion-dollar bankruptcy deal involving OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma left families and nonprofits impacted by the opioid crisis, and the Supreme Court divided.
I have mixed emotions because I think that people should be held responsible for what happened at the sales, because of the sales of the drug that they had. And so I don't want to be punitive, but I do feel like someone needs to be held responsible for it. And I do think that the money is important as well.
The owner of Deviate Kitchen, Rob Perez, says the money organizations and businesses like his receive from opioid abatement grants can help them change lives.
And we are going to work directly with our employees to assist them by making recovery more a part of their life than it's been before, by helping them remove barriers for human flourishing and to be able to figure out a path to a career dream job. So that's what we're going to work on. It's a year-long program.
The Kentucky Attorney General's office divvied up more than $12 million in opioid abatement funding, part of Kentucky's nearly $900 million recovered in opioid settlements. Deviate Kitchen received a $150,000 portion of the grant, as the restaurant hires people with a history of substance abuse or incarceration. Perez says as far as they know, that money is secured, but legal experts worry this decision could affect future grants.
What the court's saying as a matter of interpreting the statute, the bankruptcy code, sorry, you can't create an agreement like this. You can't structure it this way.
In Lexington, Grayson Passmore, WKYT.
Lawyers say the decision also could impact other major bankruptcies, including the $2.4 billion bankruptcy plan for the Boy Scouts of America that has been approved by a federal judge. Those with the City of Lexington's Opioid Abatement Commission say they are still figuring out how this decision could affect them.